It is 7 o'clock. We will call this meeting to order. The first item is the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. All right, if the clerk could call the roll.
Trustee Pappy. Trustee Hoff.
Present.
Trustee Abedlin.
Here.
Trustee McMurphy.
Here.
Trustee Dorward.
Here.
Trustee Bartz. Here. Trustee Miley.
All right, seeing we have a quorum. I know that trustee Miley said he's on his way. He'll be here in a little bit.
Great.
Next we have public comments. Anything that's not on the agenda limited to 5 minutes per person. Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which is the minutes from January 4th, 2024, and approving general fund water and sewer invoices.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda.
All of you have an additional list of bills in front of you, as well as a copy of the credit card statement. The reason why you have a copy of the credit card is I'd like to sponsor that as well. But I'm waiting for written approval from Chief Weicker as well as companies. So he's already said that they're approved purchases. We just need to get the account numbers in the process to put it in the checkbook.
Still have a motion of additional items. Sorry.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions about that or the additional items? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, we'll move on to report on village committees, and we have Parks and Rec. So trustee Bartz, you are up.
We had our meeting last week. We went over the winter walk, which most of you may have seen already, that we did make an amendment to the date from this Saturday, changing it to February 17th due to the Packers getting into the playoffs. So wanted everybody to be able to have a chance to watch the game, and we didn't feel we could stream the game down there without damaging equipment or causing any issues there. We went through a lot of the planning and all of that, so I think we're all set and good to go. Again, if any board members would like to volunteer, we'd love to have your help. We also spoke about a Stony Creek cleanup. So we're in the beginning phases of that. We're going to reach out to River Edge Nature Center and kind of talk with them and partner with them a little bit on doing some cleanup of the creek and possibly portions of river here in Fredonia. So that's very exciting. Stay tuned for more information on that. And then we just kind of talked about some things that we've got coming up and some future ideas that we're going to try and plan within the village and see what we can make a go of this year. So pretty quick meeting this week.
One thing I'll comment on is the Madonia Mud Run. It looks like we're trying to schedule for July 27 tentatively. So we can start working on that one as well. Any other questions for trustee Bartz? We will move on to report on operations at village. I'll go first. I don't have too much other than I just want to publicly say thank you to our DPW staff for being awesome during the last snowfall. I know you guys put in a lot of hours. I know you guys had a lot of headaches with equipment and things like that, but we sincerely appreciate everything that you've done. So continue to do a good job and get some sleep at some point if you can. Other than that, that's, I guess, all I really have at this moment in time. We'll move on to the village administrator.
Sure. I'll just touch on a couple things from my report. First off, we had a really good call with the Wisconsin Economic Development Division, and they're connecting us with, it's called M7, if you're not familiar. It's a regional economic development group for southeastern Wisconsin. And you typically see a lot of the bigger name corporations when they are looking to move or expand, they go through M7 as a way to kind of find sites and secure locations and things like that. So they're making an introduction from us to M7. Our realtor, Jim Larkin's going to be a part of that conversation, and we hope that they'll just expand the opportunities and communication that we have when we're selling the larger parcels that are left in the industrial park. We had a really good engineering meeting this week. It was long, but we got through it and had a lot of fun. We mostly reviewed the completed engineering plans for Innovation Drive and set bidding deadlines for that. Innovation Drive, we should have a competitive bid in hand by the end of February. So that first meeting in March will come to you with the results of that bid. And then Highland Drive, we went over preliminary engineering. We hope to do an expedited process for that since it's more of a direct replacement. And we'll have bids in hand hopefully by mid-March. And then we'll have a very aggressive schedule on both projects throughout the summer. For Highland, just because we know that that's a highly trafficked area. There's going to be obviously a lot of communication with business owners along that thoroughfare. The school district is a huge consideration with the intersection there. So we talked through that timeline of what that would look like for construction. And then obviously we'll look forward to working with whichever contractor we end up picking on that project as well. Under fiscal policy, I wanted to share some exciting news that came up when we did our bond rating review. We looked at a 5-year scope of the village and the fund balance. So your fund balance is your revenues minus expenses. And then what that difference is, then either helps to grow or lower your overall reserves or your fund balance. So previously, in the last 5 years, you guys have held a negative fund balance. It sounds like some of that was purposeful, but there was a negative fund balance that you guys ran every year. In 2023, again, it's unaudited. There's probably a lot of cleanup to do, but we're showing a positive fund balance for the first time in 5 years. So that's something that, again, we should be very proud of, that we are purposefully budgeting contingency, right, reserve dollars. That way we can slowly build up our reserves, and that way they're there for a rainy day, a big capital project, or a purposeful spend down of those reserves. So just something I wanted to highlight because that was pretty exciting to hear. We have 3 full-time paramedics. 3 full-time paramedics. We've touched on that a little bit. Casey, who's our newest paramedic, is getting up and running. He's working weekends. We were hoping that he would be able to come here tonight to get officially sworn in. But with his schedule, it makes it hard for him to get here on Thursday nights. But again, I know Supervisor / Trustee Haas has mentioned it before. Again, it's something we should be really proud of, that we were able to recruit 3 full-time paramedics as quickly as we did. And our hope is to not only recruit, but retain those individuals long-term. And then finally, I'll end with my monthly report. You'll see that all of the numbers have been filled out because we ended 2023. Nothing really of note to point out besides that if you look at the total incomes minus the total expenses, we did not end in the red. So that is always a great place to be. So I'm happy to answer any other questions, but thank you for that.
That M7.
Yeah.
That you mentioned, is that something we're doing? Because Ozaukee County pulled out of that about a year ago. I know.
So well, it's funny because Kathy's the one who gave me that introduction. So I don't know if they're a party to it, but they're still making that handshake for us.
Okay, they might. I just know that
Yeah.
Ozaukee County voted to get out of it a year ago for whatever reason. I think it's beneficial, but that doesn't mean that it was an OED or whatever isn't still part of it, but
Yep.
Interesting.
Do you recall what the dues were for that? I didn't think they were that high.
I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. I know that we voted though to get out of it because we just didn't think it was something that was beneficial towards Ozaukee County. So I'd have to go back and look, to be honest. I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember voting on that.
I think, to your point too, obviously for some places or for a county, it might not make sense, but for some, Mequon might not make sense, or Thiensville or whatever, but someplace up here, it might make more sense than not. So at least good to look into it, I think, and see what's what. Great.
Was there a realization that we had quite an excessive fund balance for a number of years prior to that? Prior to our intentional spend down?
I'm not sure. You might have that history more than I do. Like I said, it sounded like from our treasurer that you intentionally were spending down that fund balance, but it doesn't necessarily equate to a positive result for our bond rating. And so when we did that bond rating call, our credit rating call, right, their hope is that we are gaining fund balance every year. And so that's purposeful spend down, while there might have been a reason, it was not reflecting positively on our credit rating.
It was in the early 20s. ten, we had a fund balance big enough that we didn't have to collect taxes for a whole year and then some. And that was too much money to let inflation.
Yeah.
Ravage. So we intentionally used some of that before the money wore out, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that history comes from. It was intentional for good reason.
At the end of your report,
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
any other questions for the administrator? Okay, thank you. We will move on to the village marshal.
I have the, sorry, it's the monthly report. I can answer any questions on that if you have them. And I have the year-end wrap up that I'd like to go through quickly. Against the time. So, get back in call.
Questions on the report? All right,
All right.
Rock and roll.
The year wrap up quickly, and I'll just go through it. I think you have it on your digital things there, so I'll just go through it page by page and have a couple notes and several. First page is administration personnel. You can see that we had 3 people depart over the course of the year. Herta and Haas have young families, each had an addition to their family, and I've learned that part-time job is hard to squeeze in to get a young family. So that's why those guys left. Greg Zarnecki, for the last year or so, kind of served as our admin tech support guy. He does that in court, so he did it here for us. He's got to the point where he just didn't want to take the time. Greg's been in law enforcement for over 30 years. I get that. You'll see on the next page, we did replace Matt Haas with Colin Dunn. So we are at 7. We started the year with 9, lost 3, we gained 1. That adds up to 6. Hours per week. You can see how they kind of roll out. I should point out that those hours are everything. That's admin time, that's court time, that's training time, that's parades. That's not just guys on the boat. So those 76 hours a week, that's the whole shoot. So that's kind of how that falls out. The dispersion of hours, you can get a look at that. Roughly, we average about 73 hours. That kind of ebbs and flows. It's not just a straight average. One week we might have 90, the next week we might have 50. Kind of like that. The training, everybody gets those things every year. In order for police officers in the state of Wisconsin to maintain their certification, and everybody up here is certified, they have to have 24 hours in-service training per year. We're very fortunate in that everybody except Doug Wilby and now Eric Leeds gets that to their full-time employer. So we send, in the past, I sent Wilby, he sent himself to Wilby, as things point out, in order to maintain their certification. And if I could just mention real quickly, you consider the people we have up here. We've got a very experienced group. Lee and Wolf have been here almost as long as I have. And Lee just retired from court last year. He's got a couple years less than I have. Wolf's got a couple years less than I have. Wilby has been here longer. Wilby's been up here a really long time. So there's a lot of experience there. We get smarter as we get older. So it's a good thing, is what I'm saying. Our equipment, the 2017 Ford only has 30,900 miles, so 31,000 miles. The 2021 has 5,000. The reason I bring that up, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, I know Eric has talked, and I've talked to the village administrator. We'll talk about maybe taking the squad car, which we did before, and giving it to the village so the street department can use it. I'm going to suggest to you though that 2017 squad, I would keep that for quite some time, because we're probably looking now. If we did this next year, we're probably looking at $50,000. It's the car, the tear down, the new equipment, and then the install. What the Ford did is between 2017 and 2021, they changed the interior dimensions of the car by about an inch, which screwed up a lot of the equipment. So basically, when you buy a new car, you're buying new equipment, maybe minus the lights. I'm not so sure about that either. So, and the cars have gone up in price also. I know in Port, they ordered 2 cars this year, they never got them. for delayed production, stop production. They started back up, but a lot of agencies are not getting it. I won't be here, but I'm just throwing this out there. Eric and I have talked about this. I wouldn't even think about getting a new car to something like 26, maybe buy 27, something like that. Because it ain't gonna be cheap to be plain. It's gonna be expensive. It might be, I mean, if you look at vehicles, it might be cheaper to buy these guys a vehicle than to give them that squad car and buy. That's gonna be coming probably and expensive. The equipment, the brains of the car is the computer. We were one of the first agencies to have computers in the car up here. And they've got a godsend. And when I got here, there was no records management system other than a banker's box full of paper from the year that was written on the other side of the banker's box. Now we have a records management system. It's all high in these computers. So it really has been a huge improvement for the village. Next page is the arrest. The arrests are citations. That's an arrest. You can kind of see how they are. The obstructing, endangering safety, and the concealed weapons violation. Those were all state arrests, not drug court. That we had earlier in the summer. Others are things like truancy, insurance citations. Most insurance citations we write as a failure to have insurance. If people show that they had insurance during the course of the stop, those tickets will dismiss. So it's not really a snack. We write more warnings and equipment violations than we do tickets. Here's your arrest by month. January looks like we had a really good month. I'll explain this here in a little bit. We issue traffic citations for parking violations if they're not paid within 35 days. I'll explain why we do that, what some other agencies do, but we'll get to that. So a good bunch of those were parking tickets that started out at $10, $15, $20, $35, depending when you paid it, and then they turn into $60 state traffic citation. So that's a bunch of those in January were those. Traffic accidents, we only handled 3 this year. There were many more here, but Tom handled the ones who are not here. And here's parking tickets. Some of you heard me say this. I'm not a fan of parking tickets. I can give somebody a $124 speeding ticket, which is our most common ticket, 60 miles of speeding. When I'm done, they'll say, thank you, I write you a $10 parking ticket, you hate me for the rest of my life. I don't know what that is with parking tickets. I've never figured it out. Our parking tickets are the cheapest in the county. Again, we start at $10. If it's paid within 3 days, it's $10. Between 3 days and 10 days, it's $15. After 10 days and up to 28 days, it's $20. After 28 days, it's $35. What we do is we wait about a month. If these aren't satisfied, we wait about a month, and then we write traffic citation and we mail it to them to handle the unpaid parking ticket. A full-time agency like Port Washington will go through the state and they'll suspend your registration on your vehicle because of the unpaid parking ticket. Then you've got to go pay the parking ticket and then get your registration reinstated. We don't have a full-time staff, so that's the data we've taken. We're getting ready to write 12 of those. The parking tickets that have just not been used. And the only parking tickets we write in the last couple of years are for the winter party. We have enough parking tickets to last, I would say, another 2 years for sure, maybe 3. Once it comes time to reorder these things, I would recommend you look at the bond and probably call it. Port citations start at 25. That's the first get. And then they go up, they top out at 50. Milwaukee started at 35. So I would. Ports is in accordance with the rest of the county. They just up there. So they should probably raise.
You probably bought those 15 years ago.
I'm guessing 2005.
Yeah.
I bought enough at the time to last, so.
Yeah.
We're just using them up. I'm thinking it's a good deal. Complaints and incident, we had about 750 complaints. Next page shows them by month. Then the next page shows them kind of what we have. Other is sort of a catch-all category. It's things like civil matters. We assist people, we answer a question. That's our records management system. Now, every time one of our guys gets sent to something, that gets captured. Where in the past, none of that stuff ever been captured, because I might come here also, answer your question and give my car and drive away. Now that's all documented, the officer puts in the computer what he did, and who it was, all that's captured, so there's a lot of those. Next page are our major accomplishments. Travis is our citation writing system, that's all automated. Mid-range risk support, that's MMMC. And then our policies, those are the ones that are required by law, and you have those. Major accomplishments, the mid-range risk support, we made some accomplishment. I don't have the final figures yet in terms of revenue, that usually comes in kind of late April, late February, pretty much. So then we'll have those. But the village gets about $30 more per citation from the range support than they would through circuit court. The other difference is that $124 ticket that I mentioned before at 16 miles over the speed limit through circuit court, that ticket is $180. So it's much easier for an officer to write that $124 ticket than it is that $186 ticket. That's a pretty big snap. So the mid-range support also answers the mail on things like quality of life things, unshoveled sidewalks, junk vehicles, things like that. County circuit court really doesn't want to do that kind of stuff. A bigger fish to fry. So mid-range has been a good thing for the village, and we highly recommend you stick with that. The rest of those are really unique. Initiatives for 2024, we are moving down the road, and I anticipate without any hesitation, a smooth transition of my position. March 31st, I'm done. It's been an absolute pleasure to be up here. And I would suggest to you that because of the boards in the past, it's not on me, it's on the boards. The boards will authorize the money, but you have down there a viable option when or if you decide to go for it. You've got all the equipment you need. When our people are working, they're as confident and as equipped and as ready to go as any other police agency in the county. The pitches here, those many hours a week. But one of my goals was to enable the village to be able to do that. Whenever that happens, I think you're there, and I think you'll be just fine. Eric, I think will be also very good for the village. Last one's planning for a new squad workers again. We can do this together. I would hold off on that because it's going to be expensive.
Eric doesn't like new vehicles anyway, it's fine.
Well, it's really only 31,000 miles, and in the past, we kind of kept cars about 10 years.
Mhm.
I think the last time we gave you that car, that we weren't here, but I think it was somewhere close to 80,000. So it still was in pretty good shape. We try to take care of the cars very well, and it's pretty good. They should be fine. That's all I have. Unless somebody has a question.
We see that you're looking to hire a new officer for 2024.
Yes.
Is that, I know a lot of our officers come from Ford. Is that kind of a continuation of that, or do you try to pull from other agencies more often than not?
This would be from a different agency other than Ford. We've spoken with them. We're looking probably to hire all of in March. So we have a guy in the pipeline, but what I worked out with the village administrator is similar to what I worked out with the board before, but I think we give them the authority to hire this person. We'll get him in here and work with us, and we'll get him to set up. So all mid-March, we'll hire another person. Our thought on that was this time of year for police, it's kind of slow, January, February. We get them hired in March, get them on the road, we go in April, that's when things start to pick up. Easy on that.
Well, I'm sure you'll, like I said, I'm sure we'll see you around, but I appreciate all the work. Like I said, I've known myself, I've been on the board 6 years, been an absolute honor and a pleasure working with you. Like I said, I wish you the best in all your retirement. I know I'm not sticking around after this term either, but yeah, I know we'll see you around yet until then, but just wishing you all the best and really appreciate all the hard work you've done here. You made our jobs easier
Yeah.
on this end, honestly, so we appreciate it.
I appreciate that. As I said, it's been my pleasure to be up here. I asked to come here. You folks are bored at that time, and I've enjoyed that, and I appreciate that. And we try to deliver a good product. And I think Eric will maintain that thought process. Again, it's been my pleasure. And the board really, I don't just say this, I'm not trying to feel good or whatever, but, the boards in the past have allowed us to kind of update that office. And it hasn't been cheap all the time. But they've done that and authorized those purchases. When I first came here, I couldn't spend $500, is that correct? So I always said, you know, come to the board and get your money. I think I can spend about 4,000 or 5,000. Yeah.
Yeah, you're done in March. Yeah.
But, really, the board has seen the need and authorized the purchases, and I think, I really think you have a fine piece of product. Part-time, albeit, but it's a good police department. And these guys are very experienced, very skilled. There's a wide variety of experience there also. So the mix, as you mentioned, is a good thing. So that helps us out a lot. All in all, like I said, I really enjoyed it, appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, we won't get too sappy right here, but when the time comes, you better be ready for it, because it's coming.
I could just drift off into the.
Yeah. We're not gonna let that
There's too
happen.
many memories for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, right.
Again, that's all I have, unless somebody has some questions regarding whatever we have here.
Any questions for our marshal for his last annual report?
Well, I don't know if we'll have you at a meeting.
I'll be here in March.
You'll be here in March, yeah.
Everywhere in the beautiful.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, in my tenure here, you're the fourth guy in your position. That, and you just outshine everyone.
Thank you.
Nice work.
You took your job seriously. You were building something. I was like an erector set for you. And you had something in your mind, and I'm gonna build this. And you came to us with reasonable explanations for do this and do that, and said, oh, okay. And like you say, we followed your lead, and we're ending up with a premier police department, even though we call it a marshal's office. We were looking forward to sometime in the near future going full time. The paramedics, I think, displaced that by a number of years. You're gonna have to relax that, you know, that it was a matter of priorities and need, you know, so.
Well, and that will be an expensive thing for the village to write off. The salaries and the benefits will be expensive, and that's, I don't know, I used to know what the number is, but I don't know what the number. You reach a certain population. Yeah, there's a certain population where you gotta figure something, so. But you've got a ways to go.
So, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
all of that.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm gonna say my goodbyes for March, so.
Same here.
All right.
Balloons and stuff, right? We're gonna confetti cannons. I love it.
Parades.
There you
Yeah, right.
go. Are you busy around that in March? We're gonna. All right. Well, thank you so much. Any other comments, questions for the marshal? Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the fire chief, who I understand is at his daughter's basketball game, so I'm guessing we're standing in.
You guys report. Sure. If you have any questions, I'll give you opinions.
Any questions? Guess that's it. All right. We'll move on then to the Public Works wastewater treatment plant directors.
I reported this now. I can see, like, already put it in.
No, was. Thinking of. Getting ready for it in December. When you get the next one, it'll be snow. Questions? The thing that I would like to comment before it goes. Without me in it is on that river cleanup. If I tie that into the MS4 permits. It will help the village save money and won't get. Go away without.
Now make sure.
Why
we
don't
do
you
what
come
we
to the
have
next meeting and we'll
Keep an eye on
make sure we include you in the next meeting and can collaborate on
I
that,
worked with her before, so. We can include it,
for sure.
help with the, for
If you want to just give us a quick rundown, is there anything that's not working right now? Or I should say, is there anything working right now? Give us kind of an overview as to what all happened, maybe.
We got our plow truck fixed after the storm. That was good.
Helpful.
We do have one of our pickups. The plow, which going to getting fixed. It failed after the storm. Couldn't get the plow to go down, and then there was something bad on it too. So that's up there.
That's
For
working.
those that have the privilege of the snow blower, we had to pull that whole neck with. We did get it fixed though, and it's up and running again, but. It's happening more, and I don't know if it's just me. With being here, everything's gonna quit, or if it's. I mean, that's an old snow blower, well, the other snow blower for either.
Would you, assess that snow blower we have as being more of a toy than, the type of equipment that we need?
Yes.
You run into a lot of that with.
On that note with, I don't know if you guys have driven down Regal by the post office and that. We blew everything from the curb out, so you can open everything back up, the access to the catch basin, it does rain. That's what I'd like to do, I just don't have the equipment for it. So yeah, using that snow blower to do that, and plus that storm was quite a bit of snow that. Skid loader works great. Brandon's been in that 40 hours a week. Get there, but not that I'm.
I was gonna say, you probably haven't, it's heated, yeah, nice and,
Oh,
yeah. Oh, he's like, I would, he's like, I would be in it.
Radio.
Yeah.
it's got it all.
But yeah, our two snow blowers that do the village, one we can't get started, and then the French track.
Have to keep that into consideration as we keep moving forward here. It seems like we've got a lot of equipment that's been repaired over time that we've been kind of throwing a couple dollars at and things like that, but it's no good when, you know, one of your big plow trucks fails right before, you know, one of the largest snow events in the last 5 years. That's, I mean, when these guys were plowing in pickup trucks, our village streets, it was, I mean, it was impressive, but I can't imagine, you know, I mean, I'm sure that was not fun at all. So.
With that one plow truck being down, which is one of our sulfur trucks, so we only have one other one. During that snowstorm, 8 hours it would take to salt everything with that truck. So we kind of really put a damper on it. Jason said the first morning that we had the snow, Friday morning. Jason pulled the loader out, blew the ram off of it, so we backed it right back in, so. But it's up and running.
Excellent.
Do a lot of. I think I have a capable guys that are maybe more intrigued now to fix things. So they've been doing a lot more fixes in-house.
Yeah. That's good.
It's all good.
Any questions for anyone?
Kudos for keeping up with it. It's not easy. Thank you guys for doing
Yep.
what you do.
You had a lot of compliments.
Yeah, that's pretty rare in this village.
It's very rare.
Yeah, compliments on the street cleaning, so you guys must have really.
I mean, you even got compliments from the people that normally complain. So that was kind of cool.
I know the girls got at the office, he complained how his road doesn't look like Regal. It's not all cleaned up, but you can access the mailbox. It was a compliment and then a complaint about why his doesn't look like that.
Well, with the wet snow followed by a deep freeze, I'm surprised we can see the roads.
Yeah, me too.
And then Kurt, if you're gonna put your Christmas tree and stand it up like that, where it looks like a regular farm tree.
They're gonna drive.
Or drive past another.
I used to do that at my parents' house.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
See how long it takes.
It looks so beautiful up there. Why, you can't get it? Or what?
Just unplug it in.
Okay,
We drove right past it, and it says, make sure you get Church Street. And I was like, what tree? I just, and we go back up there, I was like, it looks like a living tree.
We don't have any sprinklers
Okay.
birthdays.
Well done. Well done.
I
All
could
right.
have kept it there till the spring.
Might even start growing roots
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, they shouldn't have, maybe.
All right, any other questions for our public works guys? Thank you so much. We'll move on to the clerk's report.
Mine is less exciting than Eric's. We've been receiving tax bills and water bills and animal licensing. Chicken permits are due January 31st. Those applications have been sent out and we've had one response so far. Digicorp, we're still working on some cleanup from the migration. I would encourage all of you to archive your emails instead of deleting them. I still have access to our archived emails on a cloud somewhere. And our deleted emails are stored on a cloud someplace else that I don't have access to. And that we would potentially need to pay Digicorp to retrieve, and they have a very expensive hourly rate that we would need to pass on to any person making a public records request. So I would encourage you to archive instead of deleting. We did our newsletter. It looked good. People liked it. And to continue our positive momentum with outreach and transparency, we are going to start streaming all committee meetings as well. The Parks and Rec was the first one we did at the committee level, and that was successful. It's on our website and had some views. So we'll need to think about that as we schedule more committee meetings. They'll probably need to take place in here to take advantage of the technology, and we'll need to all learn how to do the Zoomies. So that's that. And then election stuff. I met with all three candidates for the April 2nd, 2024 spring election, and they are all on the ballot. We drew lots on Monday, January 8th to determine the order in which they will appear. Richard Abeglin, Natalie Eipert, and Jessica Frank in that order. And all of that is cleaned up. It's been sent to the county. It's been entered into WISVO, and it's been shared with the press. We have 2 trainings scheduled for our elections inspectors, one next Tuesday and one the following Tuesday. It's a 2-hour training that will bring, most of our staff has already gone through this similar training, but it's a great refresher for election day processes and to talk about changes in election law. WEC was supposed to update the election day manual early January. It has not yet been updated, so we're still working with the old manual. I don't know if we'll need to hold a training again at the very last moment when they update that right before an election, but hopefully there aren't that many things that they change. So Jessica Frank is one of our chief inspectors, and because she's on the ballot in April, she can't work. Clara Paulus, we trained her up at our November training. So she'll be working with Pete in April. So that's exciting. And then Director Paulus and I are going to do an accessibility study for Village Hall in anticipation of audits during the 2024 cycle. And there's all kinds of free stuff that come with doing that type of audit. So we'll take advantage of that as well. And there is no spring primary. And then I have one more thing to add. Don, you had asked about whether or not we still need to do the know before training that we're all still getting emails for. And the answer to that is yes, we do. It allows us to access other county network resources. And if we don't do that training, then we can't access it. So anybody who's getting those emails needs to complete the training.
So we should still have like 20 days left.
I had 16 days left on mine.
16 left.
yeah.
then? We should all be pretty much the same, I would imagine.
I think, yeah, I'm not sure how they calculate who has to do what, when.
I'm gonna throw myself under the bus and say I've never completed one of those trainings since I've been here.
Very easy. If I can do it.
No, I'm just asking why I have to complete it if I've
I
never.
don't have to, because I don't even, I've ignored them. I don't even know what they are. So,
It's a security, it's a cybersecurity.
Yeah.
okay, so we
Training.
should log on to that and see.
Yeah.
I thought it was junk mail.
It looks like junk mail, but you know what? They will send you like test junk mails to see if you click on it and they'll send you like a gotcha email afterwards.
And then you have to go in and do the training.
Yes, and then you have to do the
And you
training.
have to do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right,
Very easy.
thank you.
any questions for the clerk? All right. Move on to the treasurer's report.
So you have my report. In addition, upcoming, I have to do year-end WRS and state reports that we've never done before, because this is our first year at WRS, so it's gonna be a whole learning process. So that's coming up, our audit is coming up. Just finishing the 24, which Chris has done most of it, to get the 24 budget. Getting, of course, and up and running. We have been looking at updating our accounts and making sure 2024 was a little smoother than 2023, which went a little smoother than 2022. So hopefully we're
Smooth
moving
sailing.
forward. Really not very good at promoting what I do, so I just do it.
Well, we appreciate everything that you do. You certainly put in a lot of hours doing it, so thank you. Any other comments or questions for our treasurer?
Did you send in that signature approval yet?
Or
Baker Tilly sent you
For Baker Tilly. That
Oh, I did that.
email that.
I did that weeks
you did
ago,
that, no.
twice, actually, I think. For whatever reason, but yes, yep, all done. All right, we'll move on to the county supervisor.
All right, I have nothing particular to report at this time, and I guess, like I said, I'll keep everyone abreast of any situation that comes up in my time that's left on the county board. But I did want to let people know, it hasn't been wide knowledge, but now it's starting to become more and more public that my wife and our family are gonna be moving. That's why I decided not to pursue running anymore. We had an opportunity come up, and sometimes when you get an opportunity, a good opportunity comes up, you jump at it. So my family and I will be moving to the Wisconsin Rapids area in June of this year. So again, this is home. Me and my wife, we started a family here. We started our life here. This is always going to be home to us. But like I said, opportunity came up. We couldn't resist it, and we took a jump. So we're gonna be making that transition. So I appreciate all the support and all the help and all the friends and people we've met here, and I look forward to continuing those connections moving forward. And it's was a tough decision, but yeah, so we're looking forward to it, but also gonna miss all this. And I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from a lot of people, made a lot of good lifelong friendships, and I advocate for anyone that's interested. Nice to see 2 new faces that are gonna run for the board, and I advocate more people get involved. I think that's important to serve your community, and you get to meet some really awesome people along the way. So so that's the reason I'm not pursuing running, but it has been a heck of a ride. It's been interesting 6 years with everything that's going on in the world and just around the community. So thank you for everything, and looking forward to kind of seeing what the future holds and going from there. And like I said, from now on, I don't see anything from the county level that's going to come up that's going to be too pressing between now and the election. But if anything does come up, I will definitely keep everyone up to date. And I wish Bruce, I know he's not here tonight, I wish him the best of luck, but yeah, and I hope that communication continues, kind of keeping what's going on up there, because it's important. And as we've seen, it's affected everything down to right here. I mean, so I'm very proud that we were the first in the county to get 3 EMS hired. A lot of people said it couldn't be done, and we got it done. That's just what Fredonia does. So and that wasn't just me, that was a whole team effort. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the hard work that you guys put into, and I appreciate it. I know you guys are the real heroes. I just did a job that I was elected to do. So appreciate it. But that's all I've got. Just kind of, like I said, give everyone that information, because that is, like I said, becoming more and more public, and that's the reason why. So Any questions for me, I can answer it at this time.
Congratulations, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm,
That's fine.
yeah. Lots of confetti, holy smokes. Any other questions for our county supervisor?
I don't think I could have handled 2022 had you not taken over the county position.
Oh, I
That
appreciate
would've
it.
been rough.
That would have been one.
Yeah,
So thanks for that too.
no, I appreciate it.
All right, we will move on then to our action items for discussion and or action. Our first is going to be the introduction of ordinance 2024-01 pertaining to sets of elections inspectors. I'm gonna let our clerk talk a little bit about this. This has to do with having split shifts within our, during our elections for our inspectors. We've been doing this for the last, I don't know how many years, a lot of years. However, as our clerk will explain, we need to take an extra step to make sure that if we keep doing this, that we're doing it according to state statute,
Mhm.
so.
So just to start off briefly, this is just an introduction tonight. Our ordinances obligate us to provide requested ordinance changes to the board 2 weeks in advance. So that's what we're doing tonight. And it's an opportunity for you guys to look at it and think about it and, you know, give me any feedback that you might have. And this one is pretty straightforward. If we are going to continue to utilize 2 sets of election workers on election day, the village needs to codify that into our ordinances. So that's what I'm asking for. So, ordinance 2024-01, it, allows us to have split shifts, and it also, allows me or the clerk to select alternative inspectors, after we fully staff an election. You know, I would use the list for both of these, sets of people. But after we fully staff and everybody agrees to work, if someone doesn't come in or someone, you know, it snows and they can't make it in, we can call up from the alternates list. So it's basically just to bring us up to snuff with state statute.
Yeah, so we, like I said, we've been doing this for as long as I've been here and probably much longer, but we were supposed to have this codified in our ordinances and we haven't so far, so that would be the purpose of this. I don't see a negative impact to not allowing split shifts. I think it works well for all of our election inspectors, so I would advocate, you know, that we take a good look at this. As clerk was saying, we're not gonna be voting on this tonight. It's more or less for us to look at it.
Yeah,
And then,
it's an introduction. If you have any feedback, you can say, Michelle, I'd like to see this the next time around, or you can say, oh, great, Michelle, we'll talk about this in 2 weeks.
Does it allow somebody to work a full shift all day if they want to?
Yes.
Okay. So it kind of goes.
Yes, it's just giving us the flexibility to make these choices. We don't necessarily have to. Like, for example, Pete is going to work all day in April. And that's fine.
The last time I talked about introducing ordinances, everybody looked at me funny.
Oh, well. Maybe they'll look at me funny
And
too,
now we're gonna
but
go back to doing.
yeah, well, we have to. I mean,
We
our
should,
ordinance
yeah,
obligates us to.
That was a couple years ago when we did that. Everybody said, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
Okay.
any discussion on it at all? Any questions, any changes you would like to see made?
So this is an easy one, so I'll bring it back to you at the next meeting and it will be an action item.
This is housekeeping anyhow.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah.
We're adjusting to what we should be doing.
Correct.
All right,
Okay, so thank you for your time on that.
we will move on then. All right, next we have a motion to approve 2023 contribution to service award program for the fire department eligible members. Chris, do you want to talk to this a little bit
Yeah,
or,
please.
okay,
Kind of go through it a little bit, just give you a little bit of background with a couple of new members. The SAP program, the service award program, it was formerly the LOSAP MOSA. The name has changed, some of us slow refer to it as that, so if you hear that, it's the same thing. Started back in 2002. Basically what it was a state plan to, a benefit for volunteer and for paid on-call fire departments, not available to full-time fire departments. And it was to be used as it was created to be a recruitment and retention program. Back in 2002, the first state match level was at $212, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Basically what the plan is very similar to a 401k. You make a contribution, the state will match you up to a certain amount. This year, that amount is $479.
79.
It's like I said, like a 401k retirement plan. There is a vesting schedule that has changed the last a couple of years ago. It did change, but basically the schedule is at 10 years, you become 50% vested. Each year after that, you get 10 years of vesting, and at 15 years, you become 95% vested. The change that they made a few years back, which I totally don't understand and don't agree with, is you stay at 95% vesting until you turn age 60. And then you have to take your money out, then you become 100% vested. For an old guy like me, that's no problem. I got one to go when I'm there. But if you start the department at 20 years old, at 35, you're 85% vested, you have to be an active member at age 60 to get that last 5%. It's ludicrous. Their take on it is it's a 5% early withdrawal fee is what they call it. Whatever, but that's the way it is. That's why it's just a very weird kind of strange kind of thing. The eligibility is based on the municipality and whatever requirements were set. For Fredonia, we set it very basic, very straightforward. Make your hours, your training hours that you need to make to stay as a member. EMTs is 24 hours, drivers are 24 hours, firefighters and combination members, EMT and firefighters, is 48 hours. So if I don't make my 48 hours of training time, I don't make a contribution. I'm not eligible to get a contribution. All eligible members get the same contribution. You guys decide what that number is. You can't say, I really like Chris, I'm gonna give him extra. It doesn't work like that. Everybody gets the same contribution. You pick a number, that's gonna be the same for everybody that's eligible. Just to clarify, because this is kind of a confusing thing. What we're talking about tonight is a contribution based on last year, 2023's eligibility. The money's coming out of 2023 budget. We just had to wait till the end of the year to get the number of hours of training, make sure you figure out who's eligible through that. It's a pretty standard way this is done. And the state match, like I said, is $479. The form that you probably have shows a little bit of kind of numbers on it. We budgeted $15,000. There was some administrative fees, which gives a remaining balance of $13,424. Like I mentioned, the budgeting amount is somewhat of an educated guess. That number was decided in November, a year and a half ago. You know, in 2023, in November, we gave you a number, said this one we're going to budget for SCP. We're not going to make that, you know, we're not going to come up with an actual number until January of next year. So we could lose 5 members, we could gain 10 members, we could, you know, all these things could happen. The state every year changes the number and it usually goes up. This year went up, I think, pretty substantial to what it was last year. So that all affects what the contribution amount is and the budget amount is. There's no way you can predict any of that happening. So we kind of guess and we come pretty close. We do pretty good. So there's 2 options that are on here. The first option is if you took all the total available money that's been budgeted for this, which is $13,424, you split that equally between 24 members. You would give each member a $559.33 contribution. But the state is still only going to match $479 of that. That's their max. The second option is obviously the state match. If you make that contribution, the state's going to double the money and it goes in everybody's account. There is no real minimum, there's no real maximum. The only minimum would be if you don't make a contribution, you basically put everybody's account on hold. If that happens 2 years in a row, we're done. So the other thing is,
It affects members' eligibility years. If there's no contribution made, then you don't get an eligible year. We have had some members that haven't made their hours, they don't get a contribution that year because they're not eligible, so they don't get a year added to their vesting. So that's an important part of it. Few kind of, I don't know, specs, I guess. We do have 4 members that are 60+ years old. They've received their SFP benefits. 2 of those members are still active members. They can continue to be active after 60. So basically, their accounts been paid out each year after 60. They get a contribution and they get a check at the end of the middle of the year. We have 18 members that have 15+ years of service. That's important because they're at the 95% vesting. And 12 of those members have been in the program from the very beginning. So it's just kind of a little bit of facts there. What's happened in the past, like I said, I'm not gonna tell you what number to pick or what, how to do it, but in the past, we've almost consistently went with the state match amount. The motion has always been worded somewhat vaguely, and there's some reasons for that. Generally, the motion is to approve a contribution of this amount for all eligible members. This number can change. I think I have a pretty accurate, I think I have pretty close. 2 years ago, I got a call, I don't get a contribution because of this. That's not true. And we went through it and it was wrong. We do make mistakes. That I made once, I made one mistake. But it does happen. So that number can't change. Or something comes up that I didn't know about and something gets taken off the list. So that the 24 is pretty, it's as accurate as I have right now, but like I said, I'll put a listing up at the fire station. It's gotta be posted for 30 days. That gives our membership a chance to look at it, figure out if I'm getting a contribution or not, and why I'm not getting a contribution to that conversation. It happens almost every year. And if you only have 12 hours of training, you're not getting a contribution, I'm sorry. But somehow we forget that we didn't do all that training, so. So that's what I have about it. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
I do, I guess, just out of curiosity, I know we talk about this every year, but I just want to try and get a better grip on it, because it's somewhat a little confusing. Yeah, so you have to be in this for 15 years to get 95% vested, correct? What if you're only in for 10 years, then what ends up happening at that
The
point?
number is 10.
10, okay.
If you are in, and you get contributions up to, let's say 9 years, and you just, I'm not doing this anymore, you move, whatever. If you go to another community and you join a fire department that has the SAP program, you can continue that, and our money would be held here. And then they would get their eligibility years from doing services to the community. If that doesn't happen, if you just bail on it, you lose it all. And what happens with the money, that's an important thing. The money is in this account and it stays in this account. Right now, that money is, let's stick with the 9 years, that money is in that person's name. If they bail and that's it, done deal, what that money does is get redistributed to all the other active members.
Okay.
And it's kind of weird because we'll let people join and work hard for a year or two and they'll fail. And from my side, it's kind of cool. Because there's that extra $100, whatever, but it's like, that's the way they set the plan. That's all for the state. At the 10-year,
But it stays in for don't.
it's still using money, yeah, it's always in the state here, but not, and even, somebody going to a different department, the money's gonna stay in our account until they get paid out or whatever happens. It's still in the state. Right. There are, at 10 years, you're 50% vested. The new rules are, they give you, if you don't make your eligibility in 1 year, you have the next year to make eligibility. So basically you have 2 years of failure.
Okay.
If you can't do it in 2 years, you would lose that 50%. That money would be redistributed to the other members. You're vested at 50%, just like your 401k at work. That money's gonna stay in your name. And until you turn 60, it's gonna stay there in our account and make money, whatever we make on a market.
Okay.
And then, all the other years, same thing. So the big thing is, at 15 years, you're 95% vested, depending on how young you are, that could be a long time.
Right.
30 years you gotta put in.
Right.
To get that last 5%, but the money's gonna sit there and just, it'll keep making money, so. It's not a pension, it's a nice check, I mean, the 25 that's in there now from the beginning of the plan is gonna be nice. It'll be a nice party.
Yeah, yeah.
But, it does more than that, like I said, this is recruitment and retention. We have members that stick around for this.
Mhm.
They're going for that, that top percentage. It's a nice thing. It's just one of those things where people really, they do appreciate it. You may never hear that. Nobody ever says thank you, but the guys do appreciate it. I think it's helped us. I think it's helped us get to where we are. With our membership, as bad as that is,
Yep.
This has been a tool that's kind of helped us out a little bit, so.
Well, I agree. I just don't understand from the legislative standpoint, why the age is 60. That doesn't make any sense to me. If we're looking at,
These rules. The only thing I can think of is because there may have been some push from departments that have older members.
Mm.
Cause they changed some stuff. I think you could leave the money in there till you're 62 or 64, whatever. And they changed, they did a lot of modifications that really made me think that if you're an older member, it made the investing percentage go faster. And then you could, get out. That's the only thing, but I never got an answer. I never got.
Yep.
The answer is it was done in committee.
oh, yeah,
And okay, so that black ball.
Right.
You can be on that one stick until it's dead, it's ready to stick, but. There was never, this is because of this reason or.
Yep.
So that's what I know about that.
all right, thank you.
Sure.
So what is the pleasure of the board?
We had for a number of years had a reserve account. I don't know if we held it in our budget or if you held it in your budget. It was a local reserve.
I mean, it was it was a reserve fund and then the budget amount. I don't know if that was already declared from the budget or not, but.
Yeah, we did, when we first started out, with a figure. And then, we had a couple of lean years in there and we decided, well, okay, we're gonna do a reserve account. And keep money in reserve. And then whatever we need to reach the match. We can take out of reserve and add the balance from the budget or vice versa. And we always wanted to have a reserve in there that was substantial enough to cover a big chunk of this. Just to make sure that we didn't run into a situation where 1 year money is really tight, then I'm sorry, we can't match you guys, we can't do the 479. We could do 150, well, then you guys are out. The match and whatever, so, but that money got lost in the shuffle somewhere. I believe if my memory is correct, which is probably not, that we had somewhere around $11,000 in reserves.
That was what I was thinking. I haven't had an opportunity, but I've had a couple of weeks, weather included. But I haven't really had an opportunity to dig up my last couple of years, documents and go through it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I don't
that was the
have,
number I was thinking, but I know that money was taken out of that account, or I was told money was taken out of that account
for another purpose for the fire department.
to pay for the EMS and fire
Right,
study that was done.
all right.
So I can give you the number that I can't get, but at a point in time, that may or may not be delayed.
So we always looked at this in such a way as that we don't want to waste any of the state match dollars. We want to capture even the 20 cents, we want to capture everything state wants to match. So I look at this, personally, I look at this as, okay, we're gonna buy a pickup truck. And we're gonna, in the budget, we're gonna budget $55,000 for it. So we go out and buy a pickup truck. And it only costs us 45, so we got 10 grand, well, we leave that in the general fund, well, whatever. If we look at this the same way, we can, if we match the 479.20 for these 24 people, And if you turn over 25 after you do the shuffle down there, and whatever, he said, well, here, no, I did this and what, I understand all of it. We should match all of the eligible members. Pay them $479.20 out of our funds so that we capture that entire match. So that would, I don't know what the total would be, but
$0.80.
did you do the math? Reed? Oh, yeah, it would be 11.5 and 80 cents. Or thereabouts. You still have to do the reconciliation with the down there for the 30 days and whatever. Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, I'm just gonna play devil's advocate. That's definitely one way of looking at it and saying, you know, that's like buying a truck, you know, you set a certain amount and, you know, keep the rest of it in the general fund or for whatever. The other way to look at it, is it's almost $100 more that could be contributed to each member, right? And we haven't budgeted it for last year anyway, and we've never done that before, so what would be the hurt of doing it? So that's another way to look at it, so I think we really do have, you know, a
We've
couple
got
of,
options, yeah.
couple of fair options, yeah, it just kind of depends on what the board thinks that they would want to do.
So I like keeping it at the state match, just for the reason that Chris has made a mistake in the past. And it might happen again, so, you know, if we have the extra, it's only like $1,800 difference.
Mhm.
So if there's one or two that we have, you know, he missed, or, you know, it ends up being 26, then we still have. And if he is right, like he is 99% of the time, then, you know, we got $1,800 to do something else with.
That's definitely a way to look at it.
yeah, I'll cover half of what I'm in.
What year is this?
I'd make a motion then to approve the state match for the 2023 contribution to service award program for the fire department eligible members.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
So, one comment, and that's basically the way the motion has been throughout the years. I think the one thing that was always added was that the remaining would be put in a reserve. And if that's the account that Dennis talking about, there was that reserve account that was, and I, not add, but I guess it was letting you know that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, there's something to be said for doing it that way. There's also something to be said for doing it the way Chris did, and he gathered all those little fat pockets, you know, in out of the budget and put it in one place. And you can mind that a lot better than you can a bunch of reserve accounts in this department, that department, whatever, you know. You guys kind of get carried away. If we can do that for the rest of the year, and then everything is up for grabs in the budget anyhow. You know, so.
Chris, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was to remind the board that we do cash-based accounting, and so we just talked about the fund balance earlier tonight. So if you take the fire fund isolated, our ambulance revenues were down by a decent amount. And then we also had unplanned expenses, expense side for fire engines and things like that. So I find we're going whichever direction the board wants to go, but I would argue that a little bit of savings that we have is just to help offset the fire fund when we audit and then close out 2023.
Mhm. That's the argument, not to have separate reserve accounts for things.
We need that money in order to help try to close that balance.
Mhm. So is there anything anybody would like to add, or what was the motion again?
Motion to approve state match 2023 contribution to service award program for fire department eligible members by trustee House
All
and
right.
seconded
A second.
by trustee Evan.
Any other questions? All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mhm.
Yeah, it is a good number. That's up like about $80 from that, too. That's good.
All right, next we have a motion to approve the ALS paramedic intercept agreement between the village of Fredonia and Wabaca. You're up again.
I can have to try to explain it.
Okay.
The team has been here, I'm trying to do a better job than I can. But the short and sweet is because the Wabaca Fire Department has their own ambulance service, which is different than the village and town of Belleville. We need an agreement like this to allow Wabaca to invoice when somebody does a paramedic call, and then still allow village or Vernonia Fire Department to collect an additional fee to pay for our equipment and services and things like that. So again, just because Wabaca has their own ambulance, if we did a paramedic service call together, Wabaca would be the one that would invoice the patient. And then from that invoice, the village of Vernonia would net $300 per call, now offset our supplies and services.
Excellent.
Make a motion to approve the ALS paramedic intercept agreement.
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns or comments?
That's kind of the relationship that Fredonia and Port had when we were borrowing their whatever. This is pretty much the same deal.
It's almost exactly the same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, tickets also started and doing the first ones I did on steps. We took advantage of that quite often. If they were back then, we made it. Food department's still like it.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, we might have built that was.
All right, any other comments or questions? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And now we have the motion to approve purchase of a 2022 Chevy 1500 crew cab pickup truck not to exceed 45,000. And Eric, it's your turn. Looks like there's a photo of the truck in the
Yeah. it
Packet?
should have been in the packet.
Yep.
This would be replacing the squad I have. Administrator Jenkins and trustee Pop, when we went for, I think, our road maintenance inventory. The torque converter on the squad is starting to go, which is basically the transmission. So this would be replacing the squad.
Again, I budgeted.
Why I went used instead of new, a brand new pickup. The cheapest I could find was at 45,000. That doesn't include, any of the fees that added and then to equip it for our needs. I thought I found a pretty decent truck. And not paying the overinflation of it. And if the truck came in at 37,000 and whatever it's gonna take to put the lights on it and equip it for our needs.
And I'll just add, this was budgeted, it was part of your budget, they did the CIP. And then Eric, we plan to sell out the.
Yeah, and once the truck's all good to go, then we put the squad up.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 Chevy 1500 crew cab pickup truck.
I'll second.
Any other comments?
I have a question. Is this somewhat set up for a plow in front?
No, this would not.
This would not have, okay, never have,
No, not this one. So
okay.
eventually, if Marshall Naval is saying that the squad isn't gonna go into rotation, how we have everything planned. That my stuff may change, but this would be replacing the 93 grass rig whenever that switches out. And the grass rig does not have a plow or nothing. And it's a 4-quarter, so it's basically changing them out. It's just instead of I think the grass rig's a 100. It would just be a half.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Do we want to put a not to exceed on the motion?
I thought I had that in there.
You said it quietly, but I caught it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm out to abstain.
On that side.
All right.
Huh?
What? I'll call question. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed? What? Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it.
can get out my listening.
There you go. Next, we have a motion to approve trustee Dorward as a designated representative to Mid-Marine Municipal Association to be reimbursed for mileage per the employee handbook.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. I do not believe that we have correspondence.
No.
All right, any items for future consideration?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. I have a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8:15. We are out. Thank you, everyone.
Not bad. I think that's it.
Not too shabby.
I mean, it wasn't
Perfect.
17 minutes, it was the other.
Yeah, that was impressive. I had an 8-minute planning commission meeting. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We needed more stuff.
Yeah, we need more.
That's good, that was-
I was complaining about it on. My wife's like, well, we're moving further up north. It's not good. Well, they got less snow than.
Not really.
5 inches.
February.
So we got 19 inches. of snow.
That's my second sheet.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, they got. Okay. It gets their popular. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's cold. It's cold. And like,